I've been traveling with this concert for 24 years around America, um, coast to coast. And last year I was on the road 6 months, all over the place. And um, a few years ago, I did a tour. It was 48 states, and 75 free concerts in conjunction with my nonprofit group. It's called Musicians United to Sustain the Environment. And I was joined by lots of other musicians and poets and authors. And the whole point of our tour to do these events, and hundreds, actually hundreds of environmental groups across the nation too, at each event. And we were just trying to inspire people through the arts and trying to activate them to take action on behalf of wild lands, wild waters, and wild lives. And we ended up getting over 20,000 actions on behalf of the planet, postcards and letters and emails and phone calls. And one of the things we were really focusing on out of the wild lands, wild waters, and wild lives was to keep the Endangered Species Act intact. And so I was talking a lot about animals and our experiences with them on that tour. And inevitably, people would come up after the concerts and tell me these incredible animal stories, that encounters, interactions that they had had. And I really believed that it would be an awfully lonesome place if it was just us humans on this planet. And I think most people agree with that too. Our times with nature, we remember those times with our friends out there, but we also remember for years and years and years those special moments that we have with the other creatures that we share the planet with too. And I just want to share a few of those stories that I've collected. 3 years ago on that tour, I was up in Homer, Alaska, and this is one of my favorite stories from the tour. A 15-year-old girl came up after the concert, and she and her friends had been out in the bay sea kayaking. And as they're paddling along, they started seeing whales playing in the distance. And so they pulled their kayaks together so they could chat, and they're riding the swell, watching the whales. They're talking back and forth, and the sun's shining, and there's a lull in their conversation, and they can't help but notice this rather deep breathing coming from behind them. And they turn around, and just feet away is this big old eye watching them. This whale had silently surfaced behind them, was watching them, watching the whales. And I know for certain the way that girl told me that story, she will never ever forget that experience of looking into the soul of this beautiful creature and it looking into hers. Very special moment for her. And then just last fall, I was up in Wisconsin, and this couple came up after the show, and they'd been up on the shore of Lake Superior looking for this rare warbler. And they each have their binoculars, and they're stalking along very quietly. And suddenly the guy realizes the gal is behind him trying to get his attention. Psst, 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 psst. After about 5 minutes, he finally turns around, and he looks, and she's standing there. And she's got a chickadee on top of her head. And as his mouth drops and he starts to gawk, it flies over and lands on his bald head. And I love that story. That was a good one. And then last spring, I was in Minnesota, and this guy came up. He had been stationed on one of the Alaska islands during his service. And he's walking along the beach, and there's 40 or 50 seals playing, and gulls, and all kinds of water birds everywhere, just this abundance of life. And he's walking along, and he finds one of these glass floats that the Japanese fishermen use to keep their nets afloat. They're just works of art. You can find them all along the Pacific coast, along the beaches. And he finds one, and oh, that's nice. And he haphazardly tosses it out and back out into the ocean. He takes a couple steps, and this thing comes winging back to shore. Well, he picks it up, and he throws it back out into the ocean, and he watches as a seal picks it up and throws it back to him. He spends the next 2 hours throwing this thing out there until his arm got tired, and he goes home, and he comes back the next day. All the seals are gone, except for one. And he's convinced that it stuck around so it could play with him. You know, us humans are not the only creatures that like to play. And that really drove home that fact to me. And I've had those those magic moments too. What a junco landing on my shoulder because I'm being so still. Or the time the mountain goat out in Idaho led me up these cliffs, places where I could barely hang out, to the ridge, and it was the only place on that ridge where I could have possibly gotten down the other side. And then there was a coyote one time. I was walking the Continental Divide from Mexico to Canada, and I'd started too early, and I got up into Colorado, and I had to use snowshoes, and I'm up on this big, vast meadow, and I'm just plopping along, you know, when you're snowshoeing. You're making a lot of noise, but I see this thing way out in the meadow, and what is that? And I'm trotting toward it, and I get to where I can see that it's just the hind end of a coyote. He's digging out something, and all I can see is his little rump sticking out, and his tail moving a little bit, and he's digging out an elk carcass. And he's so into it that even with all the noise that I'm making snowshoeing, he's totally ignoring me. And I go up right behind, and I'm looking over his shoulder, and finally I get to see what he's after, this elk carcass. And I'm watching it for a couple minutes, and finally I go, "What you doing?" Have you ever seen a coyote levitate? I mean, it was just, whoa. And then it's like in the cartoons where the legs are spinning, you know? It was so funny. And he was, of course, out of there, but I'll never forget that. Sneaking up on the coyote. That's actually happened a few times. I got other coyote stories too like that. But, you know, we're so lucky that we have and we appreciate our wildlife in this country. I live over in Montana, and we still have all the kinds of animals that roamed at the time of Lewis and Clark. The things are intact still because we care, and we've made room, we've made allowances, and we have the Endangered Species Act because we care. So I got this song I want to sing for you. It kind of celebrates those other creatures that live on this earth, those other earthlings I called up. We're not the only earthlings on this planet. It's called Oh, What a Life. There's an old owl flying free. He's calling out to me. What can I tell him as the big trees fall? And he slips on through the cracks. Oh, I can't turn my back. For his kind is our kind, and the writing's on the wall. If we could see this world through the eyes of those who keep sharing when there's nothing left to give. If we could walk this land with respect for all. Oh, what a life we could live. There's a salmon swimming deep, her destiny to keep. How can you tell her she's the last of her kind? Oh, 1,000 times around, from the sea to the spawning ground. What a cost, what a loss to all memory and no time. If we could see this world through the eyes of those who keep sharing when there's nothing left to give. If we can walk this land with respect for all, oh, what a life we could live. She wolf howling in the night, she knows there's a lesson coming soon. Just how big is the heart of humankind? Won't you stand back and give her room? If we could see this world through the eyes of those who keep sharing when there's nothing left to give. If we can walk this land with respect for all, oh, what a life we could live. Oh, what a life we could live. Oh, what a life we could live. If we could walk this land with respect for all, oh, what a life we could live. Oh, what a life we could live. Oh, what a life we could live. If we could walk this land with respect for all, oh, what a life we could live. Oh, what a life we could live. Oh, what a life we could live. You know, one of the phenomena of long-distance hiking, you might be standing at the Mexican border and Canada seems so far away. But just that action, putting one foot in front of the other, and 6 months later, you're standing at the Canadian border. It's funny how that works, you know. Life is like that too, you know. We set goals for ourselves, but we don't get there in a day. You have to take a little bit here, a little bit there. Kind of like health care for all. You know, get there eventually. The song is kind of about that. It's not about health care, but it's a song about taking a little bit here and a little bit there. And it's called There You Are. I got 20 miles of desert stretching all in front of me. Miles and miles of open, not a drop of water or a single tree. I don't know how I'm gonna make a guess is waiting there inside of me. You may be reaching for the stars or you might be walking far. But how you get there, my friend, is a little bit here and a little bit there, just one step in front of the other, and there you are. Oh, there you are. Oh, there you are. Just a little bit here and a little bit there, just one step in front of the other, and there you are. I got 3,000 feet of mountain looming up without a trail. And the thunder's rumbling louder and the wind is blowing up a gale. I don't know how I'm gonna make it, guess I better move my tail. You may be reaching for the stars or you might be walking far. But how you get there, my friend, is a little bit here and a little bit there, just one step in front of the other, and there you are. Give me a little echo now. Oh, there you are. Oh, there you are. Just a little bit here and a little bit there, just one step in front of the other, and there you are. Now sometimes things look hopeless and you just want to sit and cry. You could be home and watching TV, eating ramen, raisin, ice cream, and some rhubarb pie. You may be reaching for the stars or you might be walking far. But how you get there, my friend, is a little bit here and a little bit there. Just one step in front of the other, and there you are. Let me hear those echoes now. Oh, there you are. Oh, there you are. Just a little bit here and a little bit there. Just one step in front of the other, and there you are. Just one step in front of the other. Just one step in front of the other, and there you are. Good job. If you have an animal story, I have this website. It's got tons of stuff on it, but there's a page for kids. If you guys have an animal story, the kids can send in their animal stories, and then there's another page for the grown-ups to send in their animal stories. So if you guys have interesting interactions or memorable experiences, by all means, send them in. I want to do one more song, and then we'll take a short intermission. But I do hope you'll stick around. And I've got some photos and songs from the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in the second half, and Yellowstone to Yukon, and wild places all over the place. So I do hope you'll stick around. I also want to mention I do have some CDs and books and movies and some of my paintings out on the table there. I have this new thing too. It's called the download card, and it's less expensive than a CD, and it allows you to go onto the web and download one of 5 CDs. So you can take your pick, and then you plant the card and water it, and wildflowers grow. Now, isn't that cool? I love it. I think it's such a great idea. So anyways, check that stuff out. And by all means, write to your senators on behalf of wilderness tonight. Make a point of that. Democracy doesn't work unless people take part. So use your voice and use it often. On that 2006 tour, I'll never, ever forget a postcard. I was back in my motel, and this was a very common thing that year, putting stamps on postcards and letters. And it was after a show over in Idaho, and this one card caught my attention because I could tell by the handwriting it was written by a young person. And it was written to Senator Craig. And I'll never forget it. It said, "I'm going to spend the rest of my life protecting this earth. I'm only 11 years old, but you can do something too." And I was so glad she let Senator Craig know that he could do something too, because he sure wasn't doing much, I tell you. But also what impressed me was that evening, that 11-year-old had learned that she had a voice. She learned that she could make a difference. She learned that she had some power too. And sometimes us adults, we forget that. So write those postcards tonight. I want to mention that most of these pictures are mine, but I've got 4 Pete Benjafield shots mixed in with mine, and some Fred Donaldson shots, Danny On, one of his, a couple Pat Bigelow, my friend Gary Steele, a couple of those. I just wanted to give them credit. I'm going to finish off this part of the show with a song that has become my theme song the last 25 years. And it's a song I've sung in many places around America, in theaters and churches and auditoriums and schools. Even sang it at the bottom of the Mammoth Caves one year. That was pretty neat. I also sang it in a courtroom once. It did not help my sentence. It's a love song, like a lot of these songs are. Love songs for the planet, love songs for the wild places. It's called Forever Wild. There's a magic in the air that I feel when I am there. It plays straight to my heart and lays it all to bear. It's in the cry of the eagle and the deer so meek and mild. It's in the rise of the mountain, let it stay forever wild, forever wild, forever wild. Let it stay forever wild. It's in all that is not tame, and some that can't be named. It's in the mist up on the mountain and the scent of summer rain. It's in the scream of a lion when she's sounding like a child. It's in the song of the river, let it stay forever wild, forever wild, forever wild. Let it stay forever wild. Now the earth that holds the key to all that shall be free. It's in the peace of the desert and the wisdom of the trees. It's in the grace of a swan's wing and the grizzly when she's riled. It's in all the love I bear it, let it stay forever wild, forever wild, forever wild. Let it stay forever wild. Now there are those of my own kind, but running fast and running blind. And the only thing to worship is that God, the dollar sign. We can teach that there's a spirit with our love and all the while. We can show that there's an answer, let it stay forever wild, forever wild, forever wild. Let it stay forever wild, forever wild, forever wild. Let it stay forever wild. Let it stay forever wild. Oh, what a life we could live if we could walk this land with respect for all. Oh, what a life we could live